evening, everybody, and welcome to Catfish Weekly. I am your most awesomest host, Chad, from Fields to Water YouTube channel, along with Josh, the Weekend Angler, and Lyle Stokes of Catfish Weekly. We welcome you. We've got a great panel of guests tonight. Not the prettiest bunch, but they can sure fish. At least they look. I lightened the mood up a little bit. They were real tense beforehand. You know, they don't know how to do this camera stuff very well, but we're going to have a great night talking about monster, super hundo catfishing. I mean, when you can get a DNR to wake up and certify your, at least, I mean, I don't know if we'll touch on that, of how Micah has DNR in his back pocket. And
I think they're his friends. He's got friends with DNR.
Anyway,
I do now. I'll tell you that.
We're gonna say hi to everybody in chat real quick, and then we'll get going with some awesome fairy tale stories. How about that? Josh, you guys good, or you want me to do it?
I got it here. We get caught back up to the top. Starting out, we've got Big Wrench Catfishing. We have Miss Pontoon Jody Catfishing. Outdoors in Indiana with Dave Scott. Channel member Brian B. Catfishing. Burrito Catfishing Lady. Channel member Greenwell Fishing. Hello, Mikey. Mike Sampson. Let's see here. Scrolling down. Channel member Get Hooked on D Fishing. That's my favorite fields right there too. So
I like.
Yes.
Benoit Fishing Outdoors. 922 Crappie Barbecue. Little River. Chris from Hooks and Hammocks. Hawk Catfishing. Channel member Carolina Catfish. Mike Irvin. Sean Abney. There's the lovely Miss Cindy Stokes. She's my favorite Stokes too. We have Small Water Charters. Let's see here. Oh, Schmieder of the Cedars.
Yeah. I love that name. Sorry.
Let's see. Paul Edmiston. Chad Woe. There's Two Stands Fishing. Channel member Danny Stone Outdoors. Keith Longenecker. There's Richard from Mad Catter Catfishing.
What's up, Richard?
Let's see. Brian Neff. Dave Funk. Three Nights. Patrick Gray. Let's see. Catfish Fever and Outdoors. Let's see. Fish On. Dan Burer. Let's see. Trying to get this say. There's Lance McCouguy, the Hawaiian fisherman. Let's see. Butterflies and Sunshine. Greg Burgess. I believe that has got me down to the bottom.
All right. Well, if we missed anybody, we apologize. We'll welcome anyway. We love you.
Oh, there's Buck Williams too. Right there, right at the end. Yep.
Buck Williams helped make our thumbnail this week. So
that's an awesome looking thumbnail.
Yes.
Make sure we appreciate him for some of the artwork that he does there. But before we get going again, I seen this message, and Corey and I were talking about it earlier. Unfortunately, over on Hoover up in Ohio, was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. Apparently we had another boat capsize. Corey, you said one person died, the other is in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
We had really strong winds over the weekend. Unfortunately, it hits those bodies of waters just right. And I know I was out with D on Saturday, and it made me nervous with that current on the river and wind blowing straight up it. So the water gets dangerous out there. And it's very unfortunate to hear of a second drowning up there on Hoover Lake. So thoughts and prayers to the family up there and everybody that's involved. On that note, I guess I'll try to change the tone a little bit.
The heck, you ought to change it.
I am wearing my cool. Look, I paid money for this.
Really?
Yeah.
You paid money for that?
Yeah. Well, yesterday was also Irish Day.
That was yesterday.
Yeah, but I really didn't get to show it off yesterday, so I figured I would wear it. I wore it for work today, and
Sweet.
I may or may not have lost my job when my boss saw me in it.
I can't believe nobody's highlighting those comments that your door-to-door vacuum salesman at. You guys are really failing him here.
It is what it is. You know, like people can be jealous all they want. Well, I am impressed. I didn't think Daryl would make it in. You know, Daryl claims one of these guys fish as one of his own, basically. But you know, we started talking the other day. We had someone on the screen.
You're not wrong.
I'm starting to climb up there, man.
There might not be a more true statement said all night.
Mika's got the man beard.
You got a message. Somebody sent me a private message, said Chad looks like the Lucky Charms ogre.
He does. Hey, Keith from Fishing and Stuff has joined us. Welcome, buddy.
Anyway, I'm being all serious. This is a professional show. We were talking the other day. Somebody on the stream landed a monster fish on their birthday, and we were like, "Let's get him on." And I was like, "Light bulb."
Mm-hmm.
We've had some really, really big fish caught by some of the people that we know. Why not do a bigger show? Because, you know, like Mr. Woody, really, I think he might have been on one show, but he has not had his limelight either.
Mm-hmm.
Corey loves the limelight, except for the part where the Louisiana DNR told him to go himself.
Pretty much.
And, but then I had to make sure that he was outdone, so I called up my buddy Micah, and I was like, bro, because I chased him. He gave me his autograph down at CatCon, so I know now we're best friends, and it's true because it's right.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, you're on here somewhere. You're on here.
If
somewhere,
he'd have signed something of mine, I'd have known exactly where.
Right there he is.
Yeah.
Right there he is.
You must not have saw me down there or something. Maybe I missed you.
No, I hid the hat when you came to Freddie's booth. But I said, you know what? Just to make sure that we shut Corey down just a little bit, I got to bring not the one time, but the 2-time Tennessee state champ into action. I said, bro, I need you.
Listen, I got to have somebody to look up to.
There you go.
That's the problem for Micah. Who does he look up to now?
I'll be honest. I met him in person. He looks up to about anybody that goes by.
Yeah, pretty much everybody.
Really? Are you doctor size?
I kind of got that when I watched the video of you catching that second fish and you were trying to bring it over the side of the boat. I'm like, man, he's just a little fella.
Yeah.
Got a lot,
He
he got
might
a lot
be a
of heart.
small fella, but he's mighty in stature.
Yeah, that's right.
He can set up here on the screen and say, catch a fish as big as I did. That's all I got. I mean, he
Pretty
literally.
close, yeah.
Where was it you signed? You signed something that said, oh, yeah, right there. Right underneath Tyler Barnes, you signed Micah Burkhart. Mine was bigger.
Yeah.
That's what it was. That was why I wanted the hat. But you guys have caught some incredible fish. I mean, not that you haven't caught other great fish, but I thought it would be a really cool idea. Get people that have caught 100+ pound fish recently too, which is we're starting to see more and more of. Like just over the weekend, I seen a picture of some kids out on Kerr Lake caught 105 pound blue cat.
That's cool.
And I thought that was a great story. You know, one, to get you guys on here to tell a little bit more about your story, but also to maybe go over what got you guys those fish, right? Because I mean, obviously, you don't have as much skill as somebody like me, so it must have been luck. But we'll get into that. I'm talking too much. Josh and Lyle, I'll let talk a little bit here too. So.
Thank God.
Wow. No,
I was just sitting here rolling along. I mean, when he gets on a roll, you kind of have to let him go.
You just gotta let him go.
If you don't, he starts telling about how great he is, and Josh and I just go, "Oh my God!"
We just stop and let him run. Let him get it out of his system, or else we got to listen to it all.
That's fact. That's fact. But
we've got a panel tonight. There are four guys on the screen right now that have caught fish into triple digits, and that is a fish of lifetime. Anyway, we've got people that have caught multiple.
That's right.
So I mean,
that's huge. It really is. I mean, anytime you get a fish that is over 100 pounds, it is a major deal to the catfish community, to the whole industry. But to do it more than once, and there's been other people that have done it more than once.
Yeah.
But to do it more than once, that's amazing.
I mean, you look at the guys we have on panel tonight, and they consistently catch big fish.
That's right.
You can mess up. I have gone out and messed up and caught a big fish. You spend enough time.
Anybody can trip on one.
Mess up and trip on one.
Anybody can trip on one. That's right.
Guys here that consistently catch big fish.
I know a guy that's on this panel that caught 280s in one day.
Mm-hmm.
Go figure. And we're going to talk about all that pretty quick.
Oh, there's a first question. I like this one. What is the longest fish fight you've all had?
Great question.
Well, I broke off on one before I caught that 118 that we fought for 30 minutes. Got under the boat.
Mine was about 45 minutes.
Did you say 45?
Yeah.
Wow.
45 minutes, man.
You were by yourself too, right?
Yeah.
Was that heavy current?
It was good current. They were probably rolling about, I don't know, I think 15,000 that day. So yeah, it was pretty good current. But I mean, I had him up to the net at least 6-7 times, but I just couldn't net him by myself. I just got lucky the last time.
If you guys haven't seen that video, it'll give you gray hair. You look like Lyle by the end of it. I'm telling you, I watched it, and I was like, "Come on, dude, just get the fish in the net."
What about you, Woody?
Well, that video I edited out. Obviously, it wasn't 45 minutes long, so I kind of took out a lot of the where I kind of tried to get him in the net. Then I didn't want to do nothing stupid, knock the hook out or something. So I just let him do what he does, and then every time I did it, he'd just go straight back down to the bottom, and then I had to bring him all the way back up again. So,
what about you, Mr. Woody?
I guess first of all, I'm right-handed. It was on a left-handed reel with 25-pound test, and it was like 54-pound flathead, and it was about 50 minutes, and I thought I was going to die.
Wow.
But we got it in. it was rough. Daryl and Russ was there with me. He's coaching me along. I was pretty green then, but it was rough.
That'll take the green out of you, though, won't it?
Yeah, for sure. Russ brought that left-handed reel in that day, and I was like, "You don't ever bring that thing again." It was rough.
There's something to be said about that when you take people fishing and they bring their own stuff. I don't care about it, but sometimes, like your instance, left-hand reels, subpar line, I trust my knots, I trust my hooks, I trust everything I do. And every time I bring somebody new on my boat, they want to bring their stuff. And if we're not fishing a tournament, that's fine. But I get real conflicted if we're fishing for money and somebody new's coming on my boat. That gets stressful sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Longest fight, Jerry?
I'd say in the mid-20s. I don't end up a wing dike. And typical, a lot of times, the big fish, especially when you're out on the wing dikes, they have a habit of going out in the main current and trying to run upriver. And every time I'd get him towards the bank, he'd turn and run up that river. And at that time, I didn't even have a dip net or nothing. And I ended up having to grab him by the mouth and 2 different times I grabbed him and he took off, and yep, from the bank it was interesting.
I'll say I don't know about that kind of current, but without having a net, I'd be afraid I'd be falling in. I'd be afraid I'd be rolling down the river.
There we go.
So, question, Micah, this is from Fishing and Stuff. How much for a copy of your GPS card from your depth finder?
You could hit me up in a private message. We could talk about it.
I saw another
Who
question.
did we lose?
We just lost. Yeah, we lost
Yeah,
Jerry.
we lost Parker for a second.
He'll be back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where'd that question go?
There's one from Jody.
Hooked on Bass Co. wants to know what y'all favorite bait is, and then how hard is it to pull a 100-pound fish on the boat by yourself? Both good questions.
Yeah, it's well, it was everything I had to pull mine over for sure. If it wasn't for the boat that I had, I'd have never got him on the over the side. But
I'll say I remember that video. That was I'm with Corey. I was sitting there going, "Oh God, is he gonna get it?" You know you are, but you're like,
yeah.
like, "Oh my God."
I'm yelling at the TV like I do at Chris, like, just get it in the net, dude. What are you doing?
What about you, Woody? Did you have to do all the work in your boat? Because I know typically Daryl would claim that he did it, but I want your.
To be honest, I don't think I could. After I got done, my shoulder was trash. I haven't been kind to my body over the years, and I don't have very good grip. Busted my hand up one time in a fight, so I don't have a very good grip. So I had a hard time getting it in without Daryl there. So I'm glad he was there.
0% chance I could have lifted mine in.
And just so everybody knows, Woody is like basically the Undertaker in disguise. I mean, he was basically the Undertaker at one point. He was kind of, from what I heard, he was a mix between the Undertaker and Hulk Hogan back in his day. He was a professional wrestler. If you wonder what he was in the fight for. I don't want him coming at you trying to be the man or something like that. Woody, so. But this question it does kick off something I was thinking about too. Is what was your guys' reaction when the fish, or not reaction but feeling and reaction when you guys got those 100-pound plus fish to the top of the water and saw them for the first time? Anybody?
I didn't get to see the fish at all till it was in the net. He came right up. We were in the current, and he came right up under the boat. We had to bring the motor up and everything. I did not see him till he got in the net.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I knew it was something special, but I didn't know it was. I was thinking, 65, 70-pound fish in the current, but it was like 15K or something like that. But as when he kept taking that drag after a while, I'm like, there's something special on here. But I didn't get to see it, but I was just like, I was blown away, and it was surreal. It was 3 or 4 days before it really seemed realistic to me.
Wow. Any of the other fellas?
Yeah.
How excited and how nervous, and like I heard Micah was talking about, he was just like, I was so scared I was going to knock it off the hook. Is it like big buck fever when you get it down there? You put the shot on it, but then you're still sitting there like this.
Oh yeah, because it like said that fish. I had him actually up to the boat within probably the first 15 minutes, and so when I seen him roll to his side, and I knew just gauging how he laid on against the side of my boat before he took back off again, I knew that it was definitely a special fish. Then after that, of course, if you watch the video, you see that's about the time I start, losing it. But then as to watch him go back down, I knew he was over 100 pounds, at that point. But yeah, definitely nervous at that point in the beginning, because what a lot of people fail to remember is that day, that exact same day, I lost about a mid-50s right beside the boat, but I caught a 69 and a 72 before I caught that fish. So by the time I had, I hooked the fish, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. It's another 60 or whatever, And then when I seen him roll to the side of the boat, it's like, nope, that's extremely bigger.
Yeah, they're catching little fish. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What a rough day. So
Right.
Even a 70.
He had to struggle through a bunch of little fish to finally catch a big one.
Yeah. Like, oh, here we go, another 60.
But the funny part about that is I only had 4 bites the entire day. Only 4 bites.
Those are the 4 bites you're looking for on
The
the
bites you want to grip, though. I mean, that's.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, for when we caught ours, when Chris and I caught ours, like I said, we had just broke off on a fish that I fought for 30 minutes. And I mean, everybody in here catfishes knows that if you fight a fish for 30 minutes, there's a reason it takes 30 minutes to get that fish.
That's right.
And we can sit here and speculate all we want about how big it was. And it come up, what happened, we fought it for 30 minutes. Finally, I said, Chris, it gave up, get the net, and it gave up and it's coming up. And we were fishing opposite of the current because the way we were set up, we had to be looking that way so we didn't get hit by boats. And the current pushed it right under the boat, come up, and it snapped off. So at that point, I was done. I'm like, you know what? Let's go home. This is boring. I'm done. That was the only bite we had. We'd fished for 14 hours. And I'm like, let's just go home. So he said, let's keep fishing. I sat down. I turned my TikTok live back on because my phone had died. And we're sitting there, and when ours finally hit, I'm sort of talking to TikTok Live, and I actually said, Parker, I don't know if you know it or not, but your mic's muted. I just saw that.
Yeah,
okay. But
he's got some background noise.
We were, I had literally just looked at my phone and was like, you know what, man, I broke off on that fish because stuff happens for a reason. And I turned back around. I say that, and within 2 seconds, I turn back around, and the exact same bite happens. The fish I broke off on, the fish hits it and swims straight to the boat. So by the time I decided to reel down on it, because me and Chris ensued an argument for 20 minutes on when to reel down, by the time I reeled down to it and hooked into the fish, he was right beside the boat. So my fight with that fish that I actually caught was, I think it was less than 30 seconds from the time I hooked it to the time it came up to the top of the water. But when it came up to the top of the water, it was 50 feet away and it's pitch dark. So we had no idea what we were looking at. I mean, in the video, I literally say, I'm like, what is that, a sea turtle? We couldn't tell what it was. I just saw it was massive. And then it turned sideways, and there was a light from an apartment complex that caught it, and I saw it spin. And I was like, no way, dude, that's a catfish. And from that moment on, without watching the video, I couldn't tell you what happened because I was freaking out. I've shot big deer, and that was a much better feeling than the big deer I've killed.
Man, I would say from the time the fish I caught it on the short rod behind the boat. It was only like 20 yards off the boat. We was only like 20 foot of water. From the time the rod went down till I had the fishing net, maybe 5 minutes. And I really honestly don't think the fish realized he was hooked. He pulled drag a couple times, but he just rolled up, got the net, and my buddy, he got the net under him, and then he handed the net off to me, and it still hadn't registered. Okay, man, it's a good fish. Until I reached to grab the whole net and tried to pick him up like I normally do with the fish, and it just stopped me dead. And I'm like, what in the crap? And I got both hands on it, and I could not get it up over the gun well. And my buddy helped me get it. And when it hit the bottom of the boat, that's when I was like, I freaked. I freaked out,
yeah.
So.
We were excited, but we didn't start really losing grip until it broke the scale. When we tried to weigh it with a 110-pound scale and it said over the limit, we started screaming like children. We started screaming like little girls, man.
Yeah.
Speaking of screaming,
I live with my granddaughter.
My son's come running in here more times than I can count. So
that's all right. It's all good. That's part of doing live stuff.
Yep.
Oh, here we go. Since he can't, he's muted because he's got background noise. Chad, remember that time we were all at the Trail of Tears State Park and Parker called us screaming like a little girl? Yes, I do, Danny. And that was only like a 65 pounder.
Yeah.
I would not
goes
scream
back.
like a
You
little
don't enjoy
girl.
those
Going, hey,
anymore.
I need some help, Dad.
And there's something to be said for that because I've seen Parker hoist up a bunch of big fish,
Yes.
and for him to struggle with a fish, when Jerry's struggling with a fish, you know you've got something there because he's
Well,
a
to be
beast when it comes
fair,
to picking stuff up.
it was the big 5-0 birthday, so he could have lost some
He
strength.
could have
that
lost a little bit. He didn't have that 40.
Here we go.
Out of that pinnacle that you hit when you're in your 40s. When you hit the 40s, that's a pinnacle, and then you goes downhill from there.
Oh, hell no.
I hope you're wrong
Just
about
getting
that.
better.
Yeah.
But
I still
I
got
want
ways
to
to
say
go.
something real quick, though, but I've got mad respect for these three guys above me. Like Woody, he took care, made sure that fish got in the water. Mika, man, you took the time, took the utmost care to get that fish certified and got the fish back in the water safely, you know. And Corey, but a lot of people would have been like, I'm putting this fish on ice. I'm getting this record. But you release that fish. I have mad props for you, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I got so much respect for you guys, you know.
Appreciate
I
that.
agree.
Thanks, man.
I agree, and I think that is huge for you guys to all have done that. I know Jerry, me and Jerry has talked about his fish too, and that was his. You comparing, gotta get this fish back in the water. Got to get this fish back in the water. That was the one thing he kept saying. I mean, Corey was basically like, "Oh my God, we got to get the fish back." Oh
Exactly like that.
And I mean, literally,
Take my picture.
Take my picture. Take my picture. Let's get the fish back. Mike
So
was
much
like-
so that I
Mike
forgot
was
to
like,
take a
"I'm just a
picture of
stud."
Chris with the fish. We
Yeah.
were leaving, and I'm like, dude, you didn't get any pictures with the fish. And he's like, yeah, I know. I'm like, what?
Well, Micah was like, this is the second time I've caught the same fish. I just come back every year and break my own record.
Right.
And he's like, I'll get a picture. I'll get a better picture next time. And then
I got to deal with it again.
Woody wouldn't take one picture with a really bad angle, 0 video because they are not giving up that spot.
Yeah.
So
Let's talk about Micah's catching that fish and you, Micah, you really feel like that's the same fish you caught the year before.
Yeah, I do.
Would you like to tell everybody about that? Because once we was talking about this before the show started, and I was impressed that you could tell that fish, the markings on that fish, and it looked like it's the same fish. It is possible you could go back this year and catch it again.
Yeah.
Well, it is possible. I mean, I really don't want to, just for the
But
simple
we
fact.
want you to.
Yeah, but
I'm rooting for you, dude.
yeah, just a simple fact, just let him alone. I mean, that fish is fairly old. We figured he was probably close to 25, 30 years old, when I caught him. So, I would like to just leave him alone. I'm chasing the flathead record. That's what I'm doing right now. So I'm working on that one. So I've changed my focus a little bit. So we'll see. I have a fish story that kind of keeps me doing it. So, but yeah, I hope I don't catch him again. Just let him. We named him Moby, so we're gonna, hopefully he can go live the rest of his days and not be bothered by me or, I mean, if somebody else catches him, that's cool, but at least by me.
Yeah, I understand that, and I do know from watching your videos whenever they come out that you are going after flatheads consistently more this year than before, and I think you'll do well at that. But us blue cat guys are sure going to miss it.
No, I mean, I'm still going to catch blue cats. I mean, it's inevitable to catch blue cats, especially in the Cumberland River and Tennessee River where I fish. But it's just, I've just changed my focus a little bit. The last 2 years, I've kind of stuck to, dragging a lot more. It was something, I learned, and I want to get good at it. And I felt that I kind of know a little bit about it. I'm no expert. But like I said, I want to get back to catching them flatheads because be honest with you, flatheads are some of my favorites to catch. So
They're the most beautiful. They're the king of cats. I don't care what anybody
Yeah.
says.
Well, 85 pounds, 15 ounces is the current flathead Tennessee record. So
yeah, my
sounds very
my
doable to
TP
me.
was 76 pounds.
Jeez.
wow.
Yeah.
Now, if you're fishing at Cumberland, are you close to Nashville?
No, I'm actually closer. I'm further north than Nashville,
Okay.
so I'm
I
around.
have a nephew that lives down there.
Clarksville area.
Yeah, Clarksville area.
Okay.
I fished a couple tournaments there.
Yeah.
I have too.
You gonna be fishing that king cat in 3 weeks?
I will not be, but I fished it last year when they dropped the current, dropped
Yeah.
the water 4 feet overnight, killed the bite.
Oh,
Yeah, that falling water sucks.
It
Yes,
does.
it
I
does.
hate it with a
The day
passion.
before, the bite was on fire. We couldn't keep poles in the water. They killed that water overnight, man. I came out the next day and we actually launched up. What's that next town up from Clarksville that everybody likes to launch from?
Palmyra.
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
launched up there and we stayed in that area. And dude, I couldn't pay for a bite. I think who was it? It was those guys from the husband and wife from North Carolina that won, and they won it on anchor in one brush pile all day.
Oh yeah, you can do that for sure.
So now you're in Clarksville. About what tree? If I'm going down the bank, let's turn left or right out of Clarksville. Let's start there.
Pretty much just pick it. Like right now, these flatheads they are moving. They are moving a lot sooner than I thought they would be. But we have had a pretty early. I'm going to call it spring because we've had warm days. We got water temps almost in it. Well, they were in the 60s last week, but we got this cold front to come through. So, yeah, they're moving. They're moving pretty good.
I'd imagine so. Geez.
I don't know if you guys watched the last video I put out. Anybody watched it with me and Spencer fishing in Neely Henry area, the Coosa River, and we were on a wad of flatheads. I mean, there were so many flatheads that I've never seen that before. Never seen it before. But it was so much fun. It's all we caught all day was flatheads.
Well, just so you know, Micah, that Pontoon Jody is also after the record flathead this year.
Yeah.
So just FYI, you have some competition.
Yeah, I told her if she catches it, I'll help her out with with getting in touch with the game wardens and fish biologists and fishery officers. I'll help her.
Well,
begging for help. I was begging
good.
for help. No one wanted to help.
There's too much of that no help and stuff go on. Yeah. If you work for a conservation department of any state, if there's a chance that a record fish is being caught, I don't care what you're doing. It should be mandatory. You go take care of that. Period. Or lose your job.
I'll tell you the first time was interesting. That was when I almost did not certify that fish, which, again, if you watched any of those other videos, you knew that. But it took 4 hours. It actually took almost 5 hours to get that fish certified. So we transferred that fish from my live well to a much bigger live well. The guy had an 80-gallon live well, so we did pretty good with that. But the people that were involved have never done it before. So that's the problem they run into is the officers are. It's not a common thing. I understand that, but still they should be knowledgeable, I would think.
That's right.
But the second time it happened, what was funny is every single officer across the state was in Nashville because they were getting new computers and new vehicles, right? So all of them were there. So the numbers that I had to call was like, oh man, we can't leave. We got to do this and got to do that. I was like, are you serious? Really? And so finally we had two guys that were done and they were driving back. They were in a town pretty close to me. And it's like, well, heck, we'll go do it. And then, so once that all happened, then, I had the fish certified in about, between the live well, the travel certification took about 5 minutes, back in live well travel. So the fish was out of the river for about 2 hours, obviously in a live well, but so it worked out a lot better. But now I have business cards. I have text messages. I have everything I need just in case it happens again. And not even just with me, So if anybody in Tennessee is watching and you do happen to catch a record, just message me. I will get you hooked up.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Now the game warden calls Micah at the end of the shift, just like, hey, this is Officer Daniels. We're getting ready to end our shift. We just want to check in on your live well situation.
You don't have one. We need to come down and.
Yeah. Now, like I said, you're right though. You're right. It's I think that every officer should know how to do it. One, and two, it should be a priority, because if you think about it in the long run, what it does, at the end of the day, and of course this sounds kind of, I don't know, I ain't going to say selfish for the state, but it generates revenue if you think about it.
Absolutely.
So if they understand it's a seamless process, they can get, depending on where they're at, if they can get it done, quickly, the safe release of the fish. Now you're going to have multiple people want to come down and try to catch that fish. And that generates revenue for the state, wherever it's at, city, county, wherever it's at. So,
but nobody's making you tell them where that fish was caught or released.
No. Well, no, I tell them where I release it. Everybody knows where I released it, but where did it go? Did it go 10 miles down or did it go 10 miles up? I don't know.
I know from ones that we've tagged, that was tagged in tournaments that I fished in last several years, those fish almost every time went back to where they was caught. Yeah.
I mean, I have to agree.
Like overnight.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Yeah. I'm saying I have to agree, but here's the thing about it though, is even between the first time and the second time, it was 7 months. So you think after the first time, I honestly couldn't go back and fish that spot because there was just always so many boats there, right? I mean, just, because everybody knew where I caught it. I mean, it's not like it's a secret, everybody knows where I fish. Mm-hmm. But I physically could not go back there because if I did, I could talk to another boat and fish next to it. I mean, that's how thick it was there.
Wow.
And so it was roughly, no lie, probably 7 months from the time that happened till I could get back and and fish that spot again. And then of course that's when I caught the fish again. So I don't know. So I don't know what to say about that, because I know there was a lot of people that fished that area and didn't catch, but probably some 50s and 60s and 70s out of there.
Oh, I'll take those any day.
Them pesky 50s, 60s, 70s.
One thing that Micah said that I want to touch on, that I really think every state in the country could definitely fix. I'm not 100% sure why a wildlife biologist, or in Tennessee, it was a federal biologist, has to look at a fish to certify it. A game warden can surely look at a blue cat and tell you it's a blue cat. They don't need to know its scientific name. I don't. And that was my hang up in Louisiana, was the biologist was on vacation or whatever. And I get it. Again, I'm down there on New Year's Eve and it's approaching midnight. Vacation, drunk at home, whatever it is. Yeah. I'm there on a holiday weekend. I understand. But there were game wardens that were working north of me. I talked to one. He was working north of me. He couldn't certify it. In Louisiana, it has to be and I'm almost, I could be mixing something up here, but I'm almost positive it had to be a federal fisheries biologist because of the ocean. And I just didn't agree with it. And
that don't make sense.
I talked to a lady at the bar. She said, "Oh, I know the biologist they're talking about. I'm not willing to bother them at home though." And I'm like, this is their job. Surely they would want it.
That's right. 100%. That's what they get paid for.
If I would have had a state record, if I'd had a state record redfish, they'd have been beating the door down to get to me.
Absolutely. And all that is a carp.
Yeah.
It's just a carp. It could be made into cut bait instantly.
It's a drum.
That's right.
Fish, Lyle.
That ain't my favorite fish. They don't even make good bait.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's where Louisiana has it wrong. A biologist should not have to be there. No. In my opinion, if you can take it somewhere that has certified scales and you can video the whole thing, that should count for.
If there's any questions, videotape it.
I mean, your conservation officers go through enough training that they should be able to identify a species of fish. Now, Illinois, we've talked about this at length, but Illinois state record channel cat come out of Baldwin Lake. it was probably more than likely a misidentified blue.
Absolutely.
But stuff
Hell,
happens.
being in Illinois, it was probably like a largemouth bass that they. I'm just saying. But anyway, so Hooks and Hammocks wants to know for each of you guys, what kind of bait did you catch these monstrous fish on, and how big was the bait that you were using?
I better not hear chicken come out of one person's mouth.
It was unplucked. I'll start it off, I guess. So we struggled for bait that whole trip, and we were catfishing when we started catching these white trout. I had no idea what they were. We were catching them, believe it or not, on chicken because we didn't have any bait.
What's wrong with you?
So we had just raw chicken.
Hey, at least he was catching his bait with chicken.
Chicken. Yeah, we can live with that.
So we put it out there because we weren't getting no bites. The day before we tore them up on pork loin, but we were out of pork loin. All we got now is chicken. So we put chicken, and it was wrapped in bacon. Applewood smoked pork loin wrapped in bacon. If it's not wrapped in bacon,
Wow.
That's something we got to eat.
but we caught 50-some fish on that the day before on pork loin. So we were struggling for bait. We ended up going down towards Venice. We were fishing off these large humps, and we were tearing these white trout up. They looked just like skipjack, but they got vampire teeth. And I was holding them up to the camera, and I'm like, guys, what are these? They look just like skipjack. And my trip there before, we flat hammered them on skipjack. So I was like, you know what? I don't care what they are. They're bait at this point. I take them off the hook. I'm throwing them in the cooler. And I'm asking guys, is there any limit on these? There's a lot of guys from Louisiana in my chat. And they're like, no, you can keep as many as you want. So we put 10 or so in the cooler. They were probably 20 inches long. And like I told you guys earlier, we hadn't caught a fish all day. So only those white trout and one red drum or whatever they call them, redfish. But I mean, and this thing was huge. It was like 48 inches long, and I'm holding it up to the camera, and the chat is going crazy about this redfish. And I'm like, surely not what we're looking for. I threw it back, and they're like, "Are you serious?" They're like, "Dude, that was a giant." I wanted nothing to do with that redfish. Caught that we caught that on that white trout too. I cut one up and threw it out there while we were catching them, and we ended up catching that.
So did you use the whole trout or did you use chunk?
So we cut the tail off. It was about a 20-inch piece of bait. Is about what
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Donkey bait.
Big bait, big fish.
As our
That's
friend
right.
would call it. But that's what we ended up throwing was all those giant white trout.
I hate to disappoint, but I caught mine on a little old bitty bluegill head. That's probably
Really?
like
Perfect.
yeah, little old bitty piece, little old bitty piece of bluegill head.
That did not disappoint. I was actually thought you were going to say I did a little bitty piece of chicken about that
Chicken, yeah, that's what I
Shrimp.
thought you were
Shrimp.
All right.
So
So
one Slim Jim.
right now we're 1-1. We have one big bait and one small
little
chunk
bait.
bait.
Water temperature was still, it was only, it was like 49 degrees. And so I was using a piece of shad and maybe the size of a skull can, which is, pretty small bait, but the water temperature is pretty cold.
Yeah, so the first time I used all I caught was about 6-inch skipjack, 6 to 8-inch skipjack. So I took one of them skipjacks, I just cut it in half. So technically it was about a 3-inch piece of bait. I mean, and if y'all have seen skipjack, a 6-inch skipjack is not that big.
No.
But that's all I could catch that day. but the second time it was a massive white bass head. It was about the size of your hand. That's how big it was.
Mikey says elephants eat peanuts, so
That's true.
We're looking at anything from a tiny piece of bait to a 20-inch piece of bait.
yeah.
And so just they'll eat it,
So yeah,
whatever. You never know what to catch.
What I'm kind of gathering from this is it's less about the bait and more about being in the right spot at the right time. It's what it says.
Yeah.
If you put that in front of a hungry fish, he's going to eat.
I agree.
And
Let's go back to how Micah started his answer. Well, the first time.
First time.
I mean, I don't mean to rub it in, guys, but
Well, I just want to make that distinction. So that way, you can catch them on either, like, small baits, big baits, and anything in between. You can catch them on anything.
Sorry, I was trying to make sense of Keith. I seen my name and I stopped.
Oh, there's the 4 guys on the bottom.
Favorite hooks. And he's wanting to know, what are your guys' favorite hooks?
Size, brand,
Circle, Kale, J hooks. What size and brand? I only ask because there's so many different brands.
Well, I'll go ahead because I did a couple series of videos on this stuff.
Yes, you did.
So I always, from the day I remember buying my first ever hook for catfishing, I went with the Gama circle hook, and I used that for years. Of course, as I was progressing and learning how to catch these bigger fish, I started off with a 5/0, then moved up to 6 and 7, 8, and so on. So, well, the problem was when I started getting into a lot more, or targeting a lot more fish. I might not say necessarily bigger fish, but a lot more fish, putting myself in high percentage areas and whatnot. I noticed that my catch ratio was about probably 60% from ones that bit to the ones I got in the net and in the boat. And I'd fished a tournament one day, and basically I didn't have any fish. So I said, well, heck, we got like an hour left, so let's just go try to find one big fish. So me and my wife, we went to scanning, and I found one. And I don't know if he's the one that bit, but I hooked into a monster. And I got him all the way to the boat, and I lost him. Lost him right there behind the boat. Didn't see him yet, but just he was coming up. So that day is when I said, I'm going to find me a different hook. Well, anyway, so I tried all the different hooks that are out there, like the Cahills, the different J's, all of that stuff. And I settled on the Whisker Seeker triple threats and the 10-aught. Now I do have 8-aughts for bumping, but I got the 10-aught hooks, and my hookup. Well, the hookup to what I put in the boat, I'm about 95% on them hooks. And that's what I've stuck with for about a year now. So that's the one that I use, and like I say, I swear by it. And a lot of people that I've turned on to it have said the same thing.
For me, I started with Team Catfish hooks when I started catfishing, and I used them for the first couple years. But like Micah, I was noticing a 50 to 70% hookup ratio every year. I'd have slamming takedowns on the James and pick it up, and fish just wouldn't be there. And when we were flathead fishing, I'd get those real soft bites, and I couldn't hook up to them. And I actually went out fishing with Joe Granada, and he introduced me to the Marudo hooks, which are what I use now. They're a wide gap hook. They're offset. This is the 10-aught. I typically only use the 10-aught on the James or Tennessee River or down in Louisiana when I'm fishing for giant fish. But these things here, man, Joe showed them to me that first night I went out with him in Pittsburgh, and kind of like Micah, I was like, man, these things are great. So I switched to them. They're sold by Angler Innovations, which I'm on their team. So it's not because I'm on their team I'm telling you guys these hooks are good, because I used them for a while before I reached out to him. But these Marudo hooks, man, just like Micah, my hookup ratio went through the roof. If I lose a fish, I'm about 80% sure it was not the hook's fault.
Yeah, it's the way they grab the bait or something like that.
Yeah. These things are ultra sharp. They stay sharp. But I fell in love with these hooks. If anybody ever watches my lives, they know these. I credit those hooks for almost every fish I catch.
I started out with Gamagatsu, used them for years, and noticed the same thing you guys. I then noticed I started noticing a few defects in the hooks too. I guess they're mass producing them so much they just weren't taking care of the quality control. Losing fish. Tried several different bands. The brand I'm currently using now is the River Cats tackle hooks, and I'm using right now. The weather's still a little cooler yet. Still using the 8 to 9-aught hooks. But once the water temperature starts getting up in the 60s, start using the big baits, I'll run a 10 to 12-aught hook. So.
We're kind of like y'all guys. When we started, we were just using them Team Catfish hooks and didn't really know any better. And now we've got sponsored by Catfish Sumo. We use the 10-aught circle hook. We call them hangry hooks. They're a very good hook and they're very sharp, and they when they're in, they're in. So we have a lot of confidence in those hooks. So can't complain about them at all.
And Woody hit on something perfect there. As you just heard, all four of us believe in a different hook, but a word that Woody said is what's important: confidence. No matter what you're going to use, if you don't have confidence in it, it will fail you.
Yeah.
That's right.
I'm testing
Or
out
how
some
good
new
it
hooks.
doesn't matter how good it is.
I'm testing out some new hooks right now that I'm getting really good confidence just because of the gap on this thing.
That's a nice looking hook.
Yeah. I mean, since I catch big fish like you guys, I figure I need a real hook. This is a 14. This is a 14-aught hook.
We were doing
That's a heck of a bluegill hook, Chad.
That is a heck of a bluegill hook. You almost hook yourself with that one. You better be careful.
You notice how shiny it is. It's like it ain't even had a fish on it.
No, it hasn't.
No rust.
He has that one in a picture frame right above his computer.
This is a 7-aught Eagle Claw compared to it. So just for reference, with the fish that I'm going for this year.
Yeah, that bait hook looks to be about the size you need.
You know, that is one thing that does drive me nuts with all the different hook companies. You'll have your 8-aught, 9-aught hook. None of the companies, the standard is not the same. It's all over the place.
I've said it for years. There is no standard on them.
No standard. It's just whatever they want to call it.
Regardless of what people tell you, there's only one company in the United States that makes fish hooks, Wright and McGill. They're labeled as Eagle Claws. If anybody says that 100% my hooks are made in the U.S., then that's what you're buying, because they are the only company in the United States that makes them. And that doesn't mean that the others are not good. It just means that that's where they're coming from. If they're made in the United States.
That's where most of them come from, right there. Made in Japan.
No,
that's right. And there's nothing wrong with them.
Japan has good metal.
Japan has good fishing stuff, or all the bass guys wouldn't be getting their crap.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can't say that much about Chinese-made stuff, because, in my opinion, if it comes from Chinese, it's not that good.
I don't know. I've fished with some Chinesium hooks, and they've done all right.
Chinesium hooks.
Either Chinesium or Titanium. You never know what you're getting. So.
Well, and it just like we touched on earlier there. You could ask every single one of us what rods we use. I don't know what everybody else uses, but it's probably different. You can ask every one of us what line we use, what sinkers we use. If you don't believe in your tackle, it's not the right tackle for you.
That's right. You're using wrong stuff.
You're right.
It's all about your preference and what you feel comfortable with.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
You know, if I didn't believe that I could catch fish the size of the fish that I caught on my rods, I wouldn't use those rods. You know, never in a million years did I think that's what I was going to catch, but I had the faith that my equipment could do it. And if you don't have the faith that the equipment that you're using can handle the biggest fish in the water, then you got to switch. You got to switch and find something that you feel comfortable with. Because nothing is the best. Nothing is. Whatever's the best is what feels good in your hands and what puts fish in your boat. That's what's the best for you.
That's right. That's 100% correct. Has anybody addressed this question that is on the
favorite rigs?
That guy about sank my boat when I took him fishing. He forgot to put the plug in.
Let's double this question up. So, favorite rigs? Do you float baits or let it lay? And then on top of that, fishing technique as well. So dragging, bumping, anchored, spot lock technique. You know, what are your favorite rigs and setups to use for targeting big catfish?
Well, I can show you one.
This guy's got a whole bait store ready.
He does. He's supplied, isn't he?
So you see, that's the triple thread hook, and then of course I run that EVA or whatever they call that.
EVA.
Yeah. I get these from Whisker Seeker. I mean, not Whisker Seekers, but Ironside Catfishing. and then I run I don't know what that length is, but my arm stretched straight out to my shoulder. That's about how long my leader is. Now, I used to let them lay for years. I let them lay in whatever it was on the bottom, and I caught fish doing that. I caught a lot of fish doing that, but I noticed that once I added this float to it, I've had more bites, more fish hit. Now, I think what it does, and this is just me thinking, I mean, everybody out there could prove me wrong. I think that if it's laying flat on the bottom, what I consider like a scent ball, or whatever coming off your bait is kind of just right there, right? Well, what I've noticed over the years is not every fish is on the bottom. You'll have fish that are up a foot. You'll have fish that are up 2 foot. You'll have fish, and I've seen them all the way, cruising in 10 foot of water, over 30 foot. So I think that if this sits up off the bottom a little bit, now you've got more of a big scent ball behind it, that kind of radiates, especially in a river. That's just my thinking. So like I said, I could be wrong on that. And I'm sure there's plenty of other, smart people that would probably tell me different, but that's just
smart
my
people
thing.
like me tell you, you're right.
Oh my God.
And then on the other question you had, I'll just go ahead and get both of them out of the way, then let the rest of the guys have at it. But I do all of it. I anchor if I have to, if the current's too strong for my spot lock. But 90% of the time, if I'm stopped, I'm spot locked. I drag quite a bit, and bumping. I'm getting into bumping a little bit more. I used to do it quite a bit back in the day, but we just don't have, unless I go to a dam or something like that, where I can consistently do it. So I'm getting more into that.
As a traveling tournament angler, I've learned over the years that really the condition of the water, the body of water you're in, the weather, the water temperature, everything will change what I'm doing day to day. My favorite way to fish is no float with a coin sinker fishing structure for flatheads. Mm-hmm. Just like Micah said, my favorite fish to catch is a flathead. But when you have to do this to be competitive, you have to learn all the different techniques, and with every different technique comes a different style rig. If you're going bumping, you got to use braid, and you got to use cannonball sinkers. If you're going to be dragging, you don't want to be dragging your bait along the bottom, and you can't use coin sinkers. That's how I started dragging. It doesn't work. You get about 10 feet and break off. And it's so everybody, I guess it's going to be primarily for me, what body of water am I fishing? Am I fishing cold water where water temp's going to be 35 degrees and dragging ain't going to do you no good at all? Am I fishing water that's 70 degrees and these fish are moving? So for me, it really depends on the type of water, the current, the weather, water temperature, everything changes. But my favorite way to fish, no float, coin sinker, long leader, floating it into structure and letting the bait float back into it. I'll go 100 feet ahead of the structure, throw my stuff right in front of it, and wait for them flatheads to come out of that structure and eat. That's my favorite way to do it.
I lost all respect. You said drag it cold, get out of here.
I'm doing a good drag.
Let's hush him up and get some more expertise. Jerry or Woody, which one you guys want to go next?
I do a lot of anchoring, but I still do a lot of bank fish. I'm still primarily a bank guy. Just starting to get into this whole boat thing in the last few months. It's starting to kind of get figured out. And so far it's anchoring, but I started bumping a little bit last year, and I'm going to be doing quite a bit of that this year. But I typically run just a straight Carolina rig during the colder months, but then it starts warming up, I'll add the peg float or like a demon dragon style spook to get it off the bottom. Mika hit it perfectly the way he was talking about it.
Yeah. Pretty much we use a demon dragon, about, 2 foot, float, coin sinker. We'll anchor up, try to hunt the structure and try to make it work, but pretty much we use floats, Santee Cooper rig setup. So, but like I said, we primarily anchor fish all the time. Every now and then we'll venture out a little bit.
Let's see. Oh,
There's a good one.
All right, Sand 3 says, what is one thing that people could look for to improve the quality of their fish?
That's actually a tough question.
Yeah, because that was kind of what I was going to ask at some point is, what are you guys looking for when targeting these huge fish?
Well, I know for me, of course, I've been fishing the two same bodies of water for a while, so I kind of know where to target a little bit more. But how I started getting into it was finding the bait. That's one. I mean, that's key actually, finding the bait, but also finding what I consider active fish, high percentage areas, which everybody knows what a high percentage area is, depending on what body of water you're fishing. If you're, like you were saying, fishing flatheads, well, you're going to want to find structure. You're going to want to find, some sort of a divot or a underwater point or something like that would cause fish to want to hang out there. Ambush points would be probably a better way to explain that. But outside of that, I guess if I could give it one answer, it would be, the bait. Find the bait, and then start there. Then you will start to develop a pattern from there. As far as you'll catch small fish, but then what that'll do is that'll help you determine areas where the bigger fish are. You can sometimes it's 20 feet away, sometimes it's 10 feet away, sometimes it's half a mile away. It just all depends on where the bait's at.
I found, like, for me, first off, I am a firm believer, if you're going to go hunting big fish, you got to know your electronics. You got to be able to read your electronics and know what you're looking at. To go out and look for fish, that is a huge deal. And I see a lot of guys, and when they go fishing with me, I love nothing more than to teach them how to read my graph. And we're looking at side scan, and they're like, oh, I never even used that. If you can't use your side scan, you're really, really hurting yourself. The biggest reason why you'd be hurting yourself, like Micah said, when you're looking for fish, the very first thing I go looking for is bait. I look for life and activity. If you don't see life and activity, you may catch a couple small fish. But if there's no life, there's no activity, there's nothing on my side scan, I'm not getting the little rice specks everywhere. Most likely I'm not going to fish that unless on my down image I happen to drive over a Goliath that's just long.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that doesn't happen common, So when I'm running down the lake, I typically have two screens pulled up. It's a split screen. I have my maps on one side so I can drop pins where I need them, and then I have side scan and I have down scan so that I can see both. When I mark something on side scan, like structure, for instance, one of my favorite things to do when I'm flathead fishing, and I love doing this in Alabama because it's just, for whatever reason, it shows up the best there, is I'll drop a point on that structure on my map. I'll then switch to a full down scan and I'll drive over it, and you can see the size of that fish laying in the tree. You go over the tree and he'll be on the top. He'll be usually he's laying on the top of the bottom log, almost always when I'm looking for him. And learning my Lowrance and knowing how it works, I can tell the size of that fish just by looking at that. But again, the very first thing that I'm looking for when I'm driving up and down the river is life, activity. If you're driving, once you start seeing those white specks on your side scan, slow down and start scanning, because the fish will be there. If there's bait, the catfish are there 100%. And typically your bigger fish will hang out there.
I target a lot of fish in Mississippi, mostly in the Missouri River. I target a lot of wing dams. I'm looking for those sky holes and stuff in the flats. Usually a good deep hole with access to shallow water as well, especially coming in this time of year. And like I said, bait's key. Because right now it's been a shad bite, but as the water warms up, it's going to be transitioning more to skipjack and shad, because the skipjack is starting to run. But like I said, I fish a lot of your current seams, and also look for low spots in the dikes too. Like a lot of times in wing dams, there will be a low spot, and midway through them dikes, and there will be a blowout right there, a scour hole. And usually, even when the water goes down, that scour hole, there would be a lot of Asian carp and shad and everything are congregating those holes. And usually, it works out for me really, really well. So.
I would just add on to what the guys are saying. I think one of the important things is using a good fresh bait I think a good fresh bait helps a lot. And I think you get a lot more action with a good fresh bait. But I'm in total agreement with all of them.
There you go.
The best bait is that red shad you get at Walmart.
We like using chicken.
You got to use the green ones.
Me, I like to go get me a big old bag of chicken, and then I go over to the sporting goods section. I get some of that dough bait that they've had there on the shelf for like 13 years that nobody buys, and I buy it. Dip that chicken in there.
Wrong with you?
So we were walking through Bass Pro today, and they had that Magic Cat dough bait, whatever, sitting on the shelf. And I had my son with me, who's going to be 3 in June. He was swearing up and down that was fish poop. He's like, no, it's not, but it's about pretty close.
Probably smells about like it.
He smelled it and he didn't like it, but he had a good time today. We did pretty good. So
that's awesome. That's a perfect place for a kid to have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Big kids, little kids.
Oh yeah,
that's fact.
We got out of there cheaper than we got out of there spending under $100. That's a win. So
at Bass Pro, yeah, that is.
Yeah.
You barely do that at McDonald's these days.
Well, that's right.
Now, granted, we were only like $6 under, but
under is under.
Under's under.
Now, do you guys? That's a good question. Do you guys, when you're using live bait versus cut bait, do you change the size of your hooks or the style of hooks that you use?
Absolutely, I do. I go, especially if I'm using a big live bait. Usually a lot of times I'll go to a J style hook with my live baits typically. So, and thinner, because you don't want to have a thick, heavy wire hook. Use a live bait because it's going to weight it down. It's going to affect the action of the bait, and it's going to kill your bait.
Not if you're using big enough bait.
Yeah.
If I'm using, like I said, if I'm using a really, really big bait, I will use a J style hook. But if I'm using a smaller to medium sized bait, I will run circles and just let the rod load up and do its thing. But if I'm using a really big bait, I will engage my clickers. If I'm around rock structure or something, now if I'm around real woody cover, then I'll keep my reel locked down and go from there. So
I change the size of my hook based on the size of my bait. I don't live bait or cut bait. I use the same. Typically I run a size 8, an 8/0 hook. I'll go up bigger when I'm on the James or something when you're using them big 18, 20-inch shad, or when you're down in Tennessee using giant skipjack. But live bait to cut bait, I don't change my hook either way. But on the other side of that, I don't run much live bait. I mean, my best flathead year, I caught over 300 flatheads, and maybe 4 of them were caught on live bait. I use live chickens.
Cut bait does work awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't keep it live though.
Yeah, I don't change the size of my hook. If it's a big bait, I'll just add a second one. That's pretty much it. Live baits, which I'm typically, if I'm using live baits, I'm using like 6 inch to 7, maybe 8 inch. That's kind of on the big side of bluegill or yellow bass or something like that if I'm fishing for flatheads. But if it's big enough, I just add a second hook.
And we usually keep the same thing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, Woody.
We usually keep the same. Usually keep it around the 10/0 there. Unless we're fishing for something. Usually everybody's fishing for monster fish anyway. So yeah, we usually use the same hook.
Awesome. Well, happy birthday, Buckeye. Everything
Let's see.
I don't see any other things in here. Lyle,
There.
you got any other questions for these nice gentlemen?
No, actually, you guys have covered it very well and answered all the questions extremely well, in my opinion. It's not worth anything to anybody but me, but I'm going to let you know about it. But I think you guys done a bang-up job answering these questions that everybody had, and we appreciate the interaction from the people in chat coming up with questions for these guys because, we might miss something if it's just the three of us asking the questions, and we might not have hit what some of the viewers wanted to ask, and that makes what we do a lot better when we get interaction from the chat. So worked out really well. You know, as far as the hooks goes, I think the general consensus on that was it's whatever you have confidence in, your personal preference. The same with rods, line, any of that stuff. It really is.
All that went with confidence. Even technique tonight went.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you're on the line about something, you probably shouldn't be using it. That's kind of where I'm at.
I say confidence,
Yeah.
Experience. We always go back to time on the water, and apparently having a great net man would also be very beneficial.
Absolutely.
Well, now Mike might differ.
No,
Mike
I
with
think he would agree right now that it would have made a lot less stressful on him.
Oh yeah.
I'll rip mine out.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Here's my last question, and then I'll let Josh ask anything he's got left, because I'm old and it'll pop out of my head. All of you now have 100-pound plus blue. Out of you four, do you think you'll ever come close to 100-pound flathead? I know Mike is like, I'm chomping at the bit to get mine this year.
I have no doubt. I really don't. Just for the simple fact of what I've seen, what I've been around, as far as what I've scanned, stuff like that. I'm guessing I will probably have a chance. I will say that I will have a chance at one probably 90 pounds.
90? Okay.
That's a big flathead, buddy.
So
Now,
you're
will it
saying-
ever happen? I don't know. But if I keep telling myself that, at least.
Yeah.
So you're saying more than likely, it's not likely that Tennessee will beat the Kentucky state record flathead. Okay. Anybody else?
Oh my God.
Here in Ohio, we're kind of. I mean, we've been picking on DNR all week or all night here. Here in Ohio, our flathead, I want to say it's 70 something, 72, 74. I don't quite remember, but it was caught on a limb line, and they recognized it as the state record. Now, do I think it'll be beat? Yes, it'll be beat. Hoover, they've shocked up 2 flatheads at Hoover that beat the state record. There was a guy last year at Knox that said he had it beat. He put the fish in a white dog igloo, wrapped all up in the water, and the fish broke out of the bottom of it in the middle of the night before DNR could get there to certify it. He said he had it beat. I haven't seen the fish. I don't know if he did or not. Be cool if he did. So do I think it'll be beat? Yes, I do think it'll be beat. I think it's an unfair advantage right now for the guy who holds it to caught it on a limb line. That should be a different record.
It should be alternative methods. But I got to tell you, Corey, if there's 2 of them in Hoover Lake, Dave Funk will have one of them before this year's over.
He's probably already caught them and just didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
That could be because he's been on fire at that lake now.
Yeah, that guy catches more 50-pound fish than anybody you ever meet in your life.
And such a nice guy.
But as far as 100-pounder, I mean, I'm going to chase them all over the country. It's my favorite thing to do. But man, what a feat it would be. I mean, can you imagine the guy that caught the one in Texas? What was that, 120 some pounds? Could you imagine? I mean,
there was one caught in Missouri that was 99, was caught on alternative methods, which means trot line, limb line, jugs, some other way than rod and reel fishing. It didn't count the rod and reel record. Rod and reel record's not that high. But at 99,
I believe the rod and reel record is only like 68 pounds.
That's what I was thinking too, Jerry. But that alternative method was 99. It was caught on the Missouri River up by Jeff City unless it's changed since I looked the last time.
Yeah, so I mean, my biggest was 61 pounds out of the Ohio River, which was the very first fish I ever put in my boat. The day I started catfishing, that was the first fish I put in the boat, and I couldn't catch another fish for 3 months after that.
Here's a fun note, and I didn't know this. I just Googled it when you said that. That 123-pound world record flathead, 43 3/4 inches. But the cool thing, it was caught on a live minnow at the end of a Zepco rod adorned with a Zepco 33 reel.
Holy crap!
Wow.
pulled with 14-pound trilene.
Could you imagine?
I'm
I'm telling
guessing
you
the
what,
drag washers are gone in that thing.
if you don't go and buy a lotto ticket on your way home from that, you're a fool.
Mhm.
That's just,
If I catch
That's it,
100
I didn't
pound
even realize
flathead,
it was
I'm
fucked.
doing everything I can for someone to certify that damn thing.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's gonna be hard for me to let that one go, boys. Just so you know.
I will say, if I caught it on a Zepco 33 with the thing's getting put in the mount that I'm having recreated. So
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we'll have that 33 bronzed or something.
Absolutely. Gold plated.
Yeah.
You know,
my boat's on Micah.
I'm going to guess there's probably been more catfish caught on Zebco 33s than any other reel ever manufactured.
well,
And
that's
not
why
all
a few
big
weeks
ones.
ago. Well,
Not
that's why
all
a few
big
weeks
ones.
ago.
But there's a lot of fish caught on them every year. It's a great thing for people starting out to buy fairly inexpensive. They hold up decent,
They're
for
good
the
deals.
price point. And a lot of people just buy them, and when they go bad, they just get them a new one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's
So-
why a few weeks ago when we did what was our Mount Rushmore, Zepco
Yeah.
33 definitely made the cut.
Yeah.
It did.
And-
It did.
But while you're buying 30 of them in 30 years, I'm still using my same old 6,500 air boots. Just grease them up every year and clean them up a little bit. They're good to go, man.
You have to do that if you don't
18
fish?
Max drag kills me on them Abu Garcias, though.
You don't need max drag. People talk. Hey, here's a little Fig Newton for your imagination. If you will let the rod action and the reel drag do their jobs, you'll never break anything.
You're right. I just don't
Never.
want to fight a 30-pound fish for 6 hours.
You don't have to. You don't have to. My rods and reels are all set at 8 to 10 pounds drag pressure. That's all you need. That's all you need. If
You
you
like
have
a
bad-
shake in his head. No way.
If you have shoulders that have had replacements and bad spots in them like mine does, you
Oh, I
won't have
get
that
it.
much more drag either. But you
Wow.
don't need any more than that. Once they get tired of dragging that out there a little ways, they'll come to you. I promise.
Yeah, it's just when you're fishing in 1 to 2, sometimes 3 mile an hour current. You got to get that fish up to you, or at least up to
I
the surface.
fished in Missouri and the Mississippi my
Yeah,
entire
yeah.
life.
Yeah, I don't like because like again, if you're fishing in front of structure, you got to get them out.
Well, that's true. Now, you're talking about flathead fishing. That's right.
Well, I catch blues out of structure too. Them
I do
blues
too.
hang
I
out.
love wood in the water. That's my favorite structure.
Yeah.
And the older it is, the better I like it. The longer it's been there, the better I like it. But yeah, but I just never found a need for any more. 15 pounds, the most I ever run. And I thought that was
crank mine
ridiculous.
down, and mine got 35 pounds of drag.
I'm sure you do.
There's days I crank outside.
How old did you say you was? How old did you say? How old did
30.
you say? Yeah. See, I more than double that. More than double. When I was your age, I could handle them big things like that, but I don't have to now.
Chad will never know what it's like to handle a big fish. Poor guy.
Really?
We'll see about that, pal.
We'll see you in April.
Yeah.
What's going on in April?
The tournament that my tournament you're coming to fish in Gallipolis.
Oh crap, that's coming up.
2 weeks.
That's a great place.
Oh man, yeah, that's gonna be a fun one because my daughter
That's a
has.
fun place to fish. It really is. There's a lot of good fish down there too.
You still coming, Lyle? You said you were coming. I put you on the list, but then I asked for your
Yeah, we're gonna
t-shirt.
try to. Yeah. See how it works.
I think everybody on this panel should come. See if you can catch a
man.
100-pound fish in Ohio.
Well,
That is one of the places on the Ohio River that probably has as good a chance as any.
Yeah,
It's the one place where the state record gets broke several times a year.
That's a lot of river there.
Yeah.
these
And-
guys,
and
these guys
the
can
water's
handle
good
our
down
pool
You
of
fellas
Ohio.
travel up here to fish it, and I'll pay for your hotel rooms.
It's awful tempting.
Come on up. I'll buy your hotel room.
What do you say? It's in 2 weeks.
It's April 6th. So what is that? It's 3 weeks away.
Yeah,
So
the thing he's not telling you, he's got a hotel room that they charge by
Well-
the hour, and you all each get 1 hour.
Well, I gotta fish a king cat down here is April 6th.
Oh, that's the same day as Clarksville, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, come on, Parker.
Let me see what's going on.
There you go.
Good chance to break a state record in Gallipolis.
Yep. I've never
That's some
fished up there
place to
yet,
fish.
so it's actually it's on our way out to go to Lake Gaston on our vacation. So we're gonna spend the first day that Friday night. My daughter has a JROTC, some kind of thing that they got going on. So we're gonna have to drive early that morning, like 2.5 hours to get to Gallipolis, fish it, leave there. Military ball, that's what it's called.
I hope we win.
And
For all that time.
then we're gonna go out to Gaston and we're gonna knock out like 2 or 3 100-pounders, Gaston curs. So
It's a good goal.
why are you all laughing for? Even Micah's laughing at me. I thought me and him were friends.
No, I'm in support.
Where's my marker? Yeah. I'm marking his freaking autograph out.
I'll
No,
go
you're not.
Forever because I didn't get a chance to sign that hat, so I know how you really feel about me now.
Well, you would have.
I could have at least put unofficial state record holder on it.
There we go. There we go.
I didn't want no uncertified state records on here.
I get it.
Don't worry, I'll take one.
I'll make sure the next one I catch that you come down and help me get it certified.
Well,
I'm
hopefully
gonna call Micah. I don't care what state it's in. He knows.
I was gonna say, hopefully you took some notes when Micah was talking earlier of how to get it done.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, if he doesn't want your autograph, I'm pretty sure there's plenty of other people, me for one, that would take it. Just that way we could rub it in Chad's face, you know.
I'm gonna send you an autographed hat, Lyle. I'm gonna send you an autograph. The hat I had on earlier, I'm gonna autograph it and send it to you.
That's perfect. I'll wear it every week.
You promise to wear it one time.
I'll wear it every week just to piss Chad off.
You can send it to me and I'll make a video with it.
I bet you will. You gonna slap it against a tree?
Yep. Right before I burn it.
Oh man.
Calm down. Calm down.
You calm yourself, young man.
We've talked about it, and there's questions in the chat about it. Can I talk about the tournament real fast? Do you guys care?
You betcha.
Go right ahead.
So, guys, for those of you that don't know, I own and I am the tournament director for the Mid-Ohio Catfishing Tournament Trail. We are the largest tournament trail in Ohio this year with guaranteed payouts of over $75,000 between both divisions, which is a weight division and a length division. Our first tournament of the year is in Gallipolis, Ohio. It's technically, we're calling it a free entry event. What you have to do is you have to buy a T-shirt with it's a Mid-Ohio Catfishing T-shirt, and what it is the T-shirt company that you're buying it from is then going to turn around and donate the money back for the payouts. So you pay $30 each for a T-shirt for each member on your boat. So if you have 5 people, it costs you $150. If you have 2, it costs you $60. And then in return, the guarantee paid out for that event is $5,000 for first place, $2,500 for second place, $1,000 for third place, $1,000 for big fish. Top placing youth also wins a free fishing license, lifetime fishing license. If your state doesn't offer a lifetime fishing license, you get a Bass Pro gift card for the same value.
Very nice.
It's going to be an awesome event. We're super excited about it. We've got somewhere around 90 some boats signed up right now. I mean, we're ecstatic about it. It's going to be great. I'll put in the chat where you guys can find the info at. I'm actually typing that out right now. And there's still time to sign up. I'm ordering the T-shirts tomorrow, but I'm going to order a bunch of extra T-shirts because I'm sure there's going to be people that make the decision to come within a week of us going. So we're going to have a bunch of extra T-shirts on hand. If for whatever reason we run out of T-shirts and you still want to sign up, you can still sign up. You have to pay for a T-shirt. We'll ship it to you when it comes in.
Corey, the Catfish Weekly public group page has over 12,000 members. Feel free to post it there if you like.
I appreciate that.
I like to see tournaments do good. We don't fish them like we used to, but it's a wonderful thing. There's some that's run really well, some that's not run so well. You just got to pick out what works for you and do that. But I like the way you're trying to do things, and I'm a believer in the only true way to measure a fish is by weight, because one will be real fat, big, around, short. Next one will be long and skinny. but weight is a true telltale thing. With that being said, guys in kayak can't do that. Most of them cannot stand up in the kayak, so they have to do the weigh thing. But if they would go to the Missouri Department of Conservation's website and check into how to weigh fish or measure fish, they will find out most of them are doing it wrong. You lay the catfish on their bellies and pinch their tails, not on their side because of the pectoral fins. And in Missouri, if you get a fish that loses weight or belches or craps out a bunch of stuff, it'll change a big fish as much as an inch or two. That'll get you in trouble on slot limits in Missouri if you're laying them down their side and not on their stomach. It'll cost you money.
Yeah, that happened to us in the private chat, guys. I just put what I was trying to post. It wouldn't let me post it in the comments. In the private chat, I just put it. Somebody want to post that for me, please?
Yep.
I got it.
But we had that happen to at Hoover last year. You know, the fish changed size in the live well. It got bigger, and we ended up having to disqualify ourselves.
And that's what happens. That's what I say.
Beat me to it.
Another thing that you need to do if you're fishing deep water is have a belch tube and just a piece of PCV pipe with the rounded ends on it where they can't hurt the fish, and stick it down there and let them get rid of the air they've got stuck in them from way down, and that will make a difference on the way you measure them also, because their belly will go down and you get the more accurate. You know, the last thing in the world you want to do, especially if you're in a slot limit tournament, is go in and they measure your fish and it's over or under what it's supposed to be. You're in trouble. That fish, most time you get disqualified, but at the very least, your fish gets thrown out and then you're fish short.
Now, real fast, because it's been a hot topic in the community the last couple days. I don't know if you guys did it or not. I got a rough length and girth on mine compared to my weight. My fish was 64 inches long, 36 and a half inches girth. Micah, what were your fish when you got them?
The last one was 57 and a half inches long, and it was 45. No, it was 40. I think it was 40. It was either 45 or 47 and a half girth.
See what I mean? Both over 100-pound fish, but look at the difference in length and girth.
Yeah.
That's what I say about that formula. Them people talk about how accurate that formula is. The bigger the fish is, the further off that becomes. And it's never less, the fish weighing less. It's always off the other way. And if you will check that time after time after time with digital scales, it'll prove to you that is correct. But if that's all you got, that's all you got.
It gets you in the ballpark. I mean,
it gets you close.
One thing that Tim from Epic Catfish taught me, and I had this in my head before I ever caught my fish. And so far, looking at all the fish, all of your guys' fish, I've personally seen all of your fish. I personally commented on every one of them, in both of Micah's. Every time I've seen a 100-pound fish, it has that Hunchback of Notre Dame hump right in front of its dorsal fin. Almost a guaranteed. You reel a fish in, and it has a big hump right in front of its dorsal fin. Game over. That thing is 100% 100 pounds. I haven't seen one yet that doesn't have that hump. That's 100 pounds. You know, up to 100 pounds. Look, flat and slender.
I've got it, and I'm over 100 pounds too.
But that's a dead giveaway. If you see a fish, and Tim from Epic Catfish told me that well before I caught my fish. If you see a fish that has that goofy looking hump in front of its fin, its dorsal fin, you're probably 100% over 100 pounds.
Yeah, I'd agree.
How would you know?
Because I see all these other guys catch them, and I envy all their pictures. So
yeah, we
shut up.
The fish on Facebook Live.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Micah, when you put your fish in, so your first one was 118 pounds, which is what mine was. When you put that fish in the boat and you were looking at it, tell me it wasn't the goofiest looking thing you ever seen.
Oh, it was. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was just because, like you were saying, but he had a belly. I mean, it was. God, I couldn't believe how big his belly was. But yeah, he had the big hump like he was talking about. But he also had some shoulders too, if you can imagine that. He had some shoulders too.
Don't say a fish has shoulders around Lyle, because he gets all bent out of shape.
I do
I
not.
caught last week. I caught it. I think he was probably 48, almost 50 pounds. Right behind the gill plates, they were just big bulges, like shoulders. They looked literally like shoulders.
I think that's muscle in their shit.
Huh. And what was crazy, one thing that I'll never forget about when we put my fish in the bottom of the boat, the way he flopped around, and they just don't move like normal fish.
No.
You know, they look like they look weird when they're flopping around in the boat. Those big giant fish don't move like normal fish.
And they're not used to all that weight they got to move around.
Right. I felt bad as he was thumping around in the boat. I'm like, man, calm down, you're gonna hurt yourself. Just give me a minute.
And there's a lot of that happens with big
Well,
fish.
you think about it. When they're in the water, they're neutrally buoyant.
That's right.
Yeah.
They don't know that they don't know that they weigh 100 pounds.
That's why I tell people for
that
years,
boat,
don't throw them back in the water. Lay them back in the water. Show them the respect they deserve.
Right.
I
tell my wife all the time that I don't know I'm 260 pounds. She just doesn't believe it.
By God, I know how big I am.
I can look at the size of your head and tell you.
Oh, here we go. That's because I caught a 118-pound fish, Chad. Maybe you'll have a big head one day.
Why we gotta go there? Real quick, Gregory, good to hear that your dad made it home from the hospital. I did forget to bring that up earlier. DHA, double hook angling, had a heart attack, and they had to put a couple stents in. But he's doing well. Apparently, he got to come home today, so that's good to hear.
That's good. That's awesome. That's awesome to hear.
Yeah. So good to
Dave's a good guy.
I never got to go back because Corey started his trap gets freaking going. He don't know when to shut up.
Ride on yourself. Ride on yourself.
It's an Ohio, Kentucky thing, guys. I'm just saying. Right side versus wrong side. Josh, did you have anything else for us tonight?
I think we pretty well covered everything. I mean, we talked about, and the biggest thing that I hope everybody was able to get from it again is the confidence thing. Everybody on this panel, you'll use different techniques, use different baits, use different rods, reels, everything. But they have confidence in what they're using and the technique that they are using. And it's paid off. It's paid off big time with big fish. So, look at the common element and get out there. I'll ask this: is there any replacement for time spent on the water?
Absolutely not.
I do have one, like what you just said. I have one observation. You have a higher likelihood of catching 100-pound plus fish if you have, I would say 75% chance if you can actually grow facial hair like these guys on the middle road.
Oh my God!
I succeeded.
Holy crap!
Corey's been growing his beard out since 1992.
And later, me and Chad will do a show, just him and I. You might want to tune into that one.
That's probably going to be a little scary.
That'd be worth watching.
It's all worth it. It's all worth it.
It sure is. It sure is.
He has to do something. He's got to pick on people because he just can't quite get over that 20-pound mark, D catches all the big fish in his boat. We all know.
Wow. Just wow.
Oh,
Such
yeah.
hatred. I might, you know what? I'm going to be fishing.
That's D's boat, Corey.
Stan just asked a pretty good question.
No, he didn't.
Who?
Stan who?
That's it.
Oh, Stan, there it is.
Pull that up.
What made you decide to go fishing the day you caught the monster fish? That is a good question.
It's a great question.
It's great questions.
Micah just fishes every day, every single day.
Well, not every day. I won't fish tomorrow. That's only because the wind's going to be 25 mile an hour. But no, I just out fishing. Doing what I love to do. That's all. I mean, wasn't no specific reason other than the fact I wanted to go fishing.
We went back to Louisiana because Chris wasn't able to go with me the first time, and we caught 123 fish the first day. I wanted him to experience what that was like. So I wanted to go back down and replicate the trip before. Never in a million years did we imagine we were going to catch a 118-pound fish that day. We weren't trying for that. We were trying for one fish over 50.
Well, you did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One fish over 50.
That's it.
One.
Just went out because love the fish. I work a lot of crazy hours, and every chance I get to go, I try to get out, you know. So no rhyme or reason.
We try to fish once a week, and Daryl's like, "Hey, we're going fishing this day." And I'm like, "Let me see if I can work it out." So, you know, we decide to be on the water, man. I fish in one shape or form. Just feel blessed to be out there.
I can tell you 100% chance you will not catch a 100-pound fish from the living room.
That's a fact.
That
That
is
is a fact.
I don't know. These video games are getting pretty realistic. So,
Yeah.
not that realistic.
yep.
No,
9.2 bears,
I
buddy.
do have one question because it seems to be something that's asked to me a lot. I don't use spooks a lot. I'm not going to lie. But you guys, all of you guys mentioned using demon dragons. Do you guys slide your line through the demon dragon or tie them on, and why?
I don't use them, so that'll be.
I'll be honest, I use peg floats more than anything. But if I do use the demon dragon, I'll go through them and I'll wrap a line around and go through the back. But most of the time I use peg floats. I go through so much hardware. You know, it's just not
Demon dragons
cost
are
efficient.
expensive.
Mhm.
How do you guys use them? Do you guys slide your line through?
Time. Yeah.
You time?
Time.
See, in my opinion, I would think that because my partner likes to use them. Chris likes to use them a lot. I don't typically use them. I used them one night and we tore them up, so I kind of started believing in them. But I like to tie them on. I feel like it gives it the action it's supposed to have, and I just don't like the idea of that thing sliding down to my hook and the fish biting the demon dragon and missing the hook. Now I don't know if that happens or not, but I'm just curious how everybody else does it, because that's a debate in my boat all the time. Like he is so much. He says if you tie your line to the front and to the back, and you catch a 100-pound fish, it'll just pull the eyes out. Was you guys using one that day you caught your fish, Woody?
Yeah.
And it was tied on?
Yes, it was. I'm trying to remember. I'm going to say I was 80% sure it was tied on. I think we may have had a couple pegs that day because we were running low, but I'm pretty sure it was tied.
Two Stan's brought up a good point there. He thinks maybe Stan was asking the days that we caught our fish, was there a weather pattern, rising waters, a barometer, anything like that made you guys go fishing? For me, we were on a trip, so we were fishing no matter what.
Yeah, well, for me, it was, midsummer, like there really isn't a good pattern in midsummer except for fish deep. So it really, not like anything that said, yep, I got to go fishing this day, except for the fact it was going to be a beautiful day, high skies, a lot of sun, hot. It was going to get hot later that day, but outside of that, but based on that question there is for me, the very best time to go to try to catch a good fish, and I ain't gonna say record fish, but a good fish is right before, I'm going to say, a storm front. Cold fronts, you can still catch them right before a cold front, but definitely before a storm front. That is my favorite time to go fishing. My favorite time.
Of course, I'm going to be fishing Saturday right after a storm front comes through. So
Yeah, that's kind of on the. You can still catch them. You can still catch them, but they're just.
Oh, I know I can, Micah. I mean, I'm all.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Go catch all the 10-pounders.
I'm about to kick him out of here.
Parker, was there anything that day that made you like any weather patterns? And on the back side of that, if there wasn't, what is your favorite weather pattern or anything outside of normal temperature?
Like Mika's saying, I love the day or 2 days before a front. It's my absolute favorite, or like the last hours. But that particular day, like I said, the water was really starting to come up a little warmer to the Mississippi. We went down into the Mississippi. It was 49. Then the Missouri itself was 51. The Missouri actually had a slow rise. So we concentrated in that confluence. and we had a bright sunny day, and so we went shallow. Those fish were starting to move up into that shallow water. That fish was in 21 foot of water, and we caught a few other fish that day, and they were all shallow. So like in the winter days, getting even early spring, whatever, those bright sunny days, I like to look for fish in that shallow water. Cause all that the bait fish go to the zooplankton, goes up in there, the shad, whatnot, follow them. So I concentrate a lot, in those warmer days in the spring, like shallow water.
That's the same thing I do in the spring. You got to find the bait, and the bait wants to be in warm water. So you find the warm water, and typically this time of year, if you can find the muddy water in a shallow flat, the bait will be in there because it's warmer. The muddy water always is a little bit warmer. I learned that in Tennessee. I tried fishing clean water, and the fish wanted to be in the – I couldn't believe it, but I watched Joe Ludke tear them up 100 yards in front of me fishing muddy water because it was 4 or 5 degrees warmer than where I was fishing.
You see what y'all did? Now you got the misses in there on.
Uh-oh.
There we go.
I think we should all take Chad fishing one time and just show him something. I'll teach him how to cast. You guys do something else.
I've tried, Corey.
I tried to teach him how to fly fish.
Oh, I'm pretty good at it already. The one time that I got to do it.
Watching Chad fish kind of like watching Animal Planet. So
I will say this has been an awesome show. It's just like I planned it. This was all my idea of how great of a show this would be having you guys on here. The other two didn't want to do it, but as the main host of this show, I said this is my choice.
There we go.
Thank you very much. I believe that I had the idea about the 100.
Well, I will say I have been extremely honored to be on here with the three guys above me right now. You guys have all fished way longer than I have. I got lucky and lucked into a 100-pound fish. I mean, I've watched Parker on YouTube. I've watched Micah on YouTube. Woody, I watched you catch that fish that you caught. It has been a true honor to sit here and listen to how you guys fish and learn something from you guys. Because although I caught a 100-pound fish, please, nobody in the chat look up to me. I'm nobody special, man. I catch fish. I catch a lot of fish, but I do not consistently put 60, 70-pound fish in my boat.
Jerry Parker, I think this guy is talking to you.
Well, Bankpole Joe, I ain't seen him around in a long time.
I haven't either. He wants to know, how do you fish wing dikes for monster catfish?
Typically, especially getting into later spring, summer, your wing dikes, you're gonna have two seams. You're gonna have your main current seam, then you're gonna have a secondary seam. I always typically, especially when the fish started getting active, that outside seam. But the thing with it is your wing dike, so not all of them, the scour hole is not going to be in the same spot in all your wing dikes. Some of them will be right at the base, and some will be farther down. And that's the hard part. If you can find that scour hole on that current seam, and you get that bait, but you don't want that bait going all the way down that scour hole. You want it right on the lip, because the fish will lay on the lower end of the scour hole. And as that bait comes washing over, they're just ambushing and grabbing it. And typically your bigger fish will usually be at the head of the dinner table right there. So then now as a night, like if you're night fishing those wing dikes, I always keep a couple rods going into the slacker water, because a lot of times them bigger fish, or just all the fish in general, will come in to that slacker water looking for the carp and whatnot at night. So, and going up into that shallow water, that's usually back in behind the wing dike. But also that being said, that's on the downstream side. And during extreme, like flooded conditions, I will fish the upstream side of a wing dike. Not actually on the dike, but I'll be on the bank about 40, 50 yards past the wing dike, because that water will hit that wing dike and cause an eddy. But you need to have a ledge or something in there. If you can find that ledge, it can be a really good ticket. So
very, very well explained, Jerry.
Mm-hmm.
Corey needs to catch 100-pounder in his state.
Yeah,
They all got robbed and sold to the pay lakes. Sure would like
Well, there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
But there's still some down there.
I'll find one.
I'll bet.
Chad won't.
I mean,
I'm gonna.
we have to travel from Georgia to Tennessee to get on the big ones. We just don't have the big fish in Georgia like you do up on the Tennessee River.
We got some fish in Ohio, but I drive 16 hours in New Orleans because we don't have them like that.
Yeah, we have them, but they're scarce around here. I mean, I'm not going to be one that says there's none in our water, but you got to find them.
You got to find them. My biggest fish. I've got a couple in the 60s. I can't get out of the 60s here in Ohio. I've tried a couple times. It's just you catch a 30-pound fish here on the Ohio River, and you're as excited as Micah when he catches a 118-pounder.
Yeah, you really are. When you're catching 30, 40, even like 30 to 50 range. Hell, there was a streak where I was hitting 20s to 30s, and I was excited around here.
Oh, that's me every time I go.
Yeah, it's just
It's just how it is. Unfortunately, our rivers have been robbed of the opportunity for those fish to stay here. You know, with Kentucky being unregulated for a long time and Ohio not enforcing the regulations they put in place, the pay lakers just came in and absolutely wiped us out of big fish. They were taking 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 pounds of fish a year, and they were only taking fish that were 30, 40, 50, 60, 80, 100 pounds, you know, so they completely robbed us of the opportunity to catch and keep those fish or catch and release those fish because they catch and caught them, you know. So
we're starting to see that down here on the Missouri, in Missouri. We're pretty close to the Kentucky border and whatnot, and we're starting to see. I'm starting to see a lot of trucks with Kentucky plates parked at our local boat ramps, commercial guys.
Well, I just saw the other day there's a guide. I don't know the guy. I can't even remember his name. But he was on there bragging about how he takes these guys catfishing. They keep the fish, and then he leaves the boat ramp and sells them to the pay lakes. And I'm like,
Oh,
you know, when you put these fish in these ponds, they're literally going there to die.
It's a death
That's
0% chance they're going to make it.
going to kill them.
Yep. And why they don't do anything about that is beyond me. If they want to, nobody cares if they have a pay lake and people pays them to fish in there, but raise your own fish.
Raise your own fish, farm raised fish, or even if they were only allowed to buy 5 fish over 20 pounds a year, you know, there was just
some kind of limit or a little,
and none over 50.
Yeah.
They should have to check in every single fish they buy, and they should have a limit on fish over 20 pounds.
The thing is, most of these states now have these guys on the honor system. How many of them guys are got any honor to them?
They've been stealing fish out of the rivers for 50 years. They
ain't going to stop.
They have.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, it's difficult too. I mean, Kentucky did change a lot of regulations recently.
But not enough.
It has nothing to do with. Hold on. The problem is them not being able to enforce it because there's not enough DNR or all that as well. And just like Corey said, the people on the Ohio side are not enforcing it either. So that's the next step.
They'll tell you. They'll tell you there's not enough agents.
Okay, I got an answer for all that.
If you call and say, hey, this guy's got 20 hoop nets out here and he's pulling fish up like it's nobody's business. Guess what? They don't even have enough guys to have a verified claim on the phone. They still don't have enough guys to send them there. They're still telling you the same BS excuses they've been using for 30 years because the ODNR doesn't care. Now, if us 7 started doing that to bass, we'd be in prison in 6 months.
Oh, yeah, they'd have a fit.
Yeah, you're right.
Here's the thing. They all say the same thing. We don't have the finances. We don't have the resources to do that. Then quit pissing all your money away buying up land.
Right.
Use that money for regulations, and the fines themselves will get you your money back to buy the land you want. It's a simple economic formula.
They don't care, man. If
it
doesn't have
because it's not their idea.
Antlers and it's not green, they don't care.
That's right. They just don't care because it's not their idea. Now, if they come up with that idea and thought it'd work, it'd be different.
Right.
But I've argued with them and argued with them.
Okay.
One day
I'm just getting started. You went the wrong way.
There we go.
Reeling it. Mike is like, guys, I'm getting sleepy. I didn't feel this tired to reeling in 220 pound fish.
Here's the old classic conversation. Somebody said the word pay lake. Here we go.
That's right. It is. It is.
Yeah.
We can have that. We can have that discussion another night. Let's not waste
the reason we're having our first tournament in Gallipolis is because they have 100% outlawed it, and they get in big trouble if they go over there. The West Virginia DNR, just for a minute, the West Virginia DNR has done a phenomenal job of building their fishery back up. Absolutely amazing job of building their fishery back up because they saw the dangers and what was going on with commercial fishermen, and they shut it down. Not only did they shut it down, they did a phenomenal job of restocking the fishery.
I'll tell you something else that's even more successful than that, Corey. We used to never see big fish to mount anything on the Missouri River years ago. And all of a sudden, they stopped all commercial fishing on the Missouri River. And they catch them all the way from the confluence all the way up to St. Joe every year now.
If they want a commercial fish, go catch them in the dang bay out in Maryland where they're causing a problem. Leave the ones that are natural.
They're not a problem out there. Just catch. If they want a commercial fish, catch carp and Asian carp and common carp and stuff like that. People eat them every day.
You know, they're welcoming them right now. They're begging them to come over to the Chesapeake Bay. They don't know what they're getting themselves into. Wait till the James River don't have any big fish left in it. And then they'll be like, whoa, wait, what happened?
There you go.
You know, if you're going to beg them to come there, you're asking for, I mean, I don't remember it. And Chad probably doesn't remember it. But there was a time when the Ohio River was as good as the Tennessee River.
But never like the Missouri. The Missouri and the Mississippi's is by far the best.
Well, just remember, the Mississippi wouldn't be what it is without the Ohio. So
the Ohio River is the ass of the Mississippi.
You feel it is. I gotta pee. I'm out of here. I gotta pee.
Boys, I can't tell you guys how much fun it's been to have all of you on here.
It's been great.
We got a little off on the bottom end here. Corey and of course I egged him on a little bit. Maybe a little bit. But it was an honor to have you guys on here. You guys done a bang-up job answering questions and telling people what they wanted to know, and it was the correct stuff, and we thank you so very much for doing that. You're all welcome back here anytime you want to come back on here. And Corey, maybe me and you need to do a DNR show and let Chad sit there with his reel and keep cranking. We'll just keep going.
DNR agents I'd like to put on the spot. Maybe we'll invite them on.
I've been there, and we talk about that after the show, and I'll tell you how that works. But Micah and Woody and Jerry and Corey, thank you guys so much for being here. We appreciate it very much, and we want to have you guys back and talk about some other stuff if you're all willing. We'll get you back here and talk about other stuff and just have a lot of fun. But this was a great show for a lot of knowledge and shared it out with a lot of people, and we appreciate it so very much. You got a bragging board tonight?
We do not. I didn't get back in till about 15 minutes before the show started tonight. So.
That just means next week it'll be bigger and better.
We'll have a big one. So
we'll have a great one next week. We're going to close out. Hang on, guys. What was that, Josh?
I said send those fish pictures in, get them on there. You know, it's getting to be that time of year, and they don't have to be catfish. We say this all the time. Mm-hmm. You catch a fish that's worth, you want to brag about, get it on the board. I'll put it on the board for you. So.
That's right. That's what we want to do. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next Monday night at 7. Catfish Weekly.
Have a great week, y'all.
Have a great week, everybody.
See you.